Good morning and welcome to day 2 of the North Dakota Aviation Association Fly-ND Conference. For those of you that are just joining us today, my name is Justin Winiger and I'm the incoming chairman of the North Dakota Aviation Association.
And I'm Stacy Crumwitty. I'm part of the executive director team for the North Dakota Aviation Association. We hope you enjoyed day 1 of the conference. We're glad to have you back for day 2.
Enjoy. Good morning again and welcome. We're excited to have you all here for the first general session for Tuesday. This morning we have with us the new Dean of the University of North Dakota School of Aerospace, Bob Kraus. Bob, take it away.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you back to the second day of this conference. Normally we would be in person, but unfortunately, due to the circumstances, we're going to be completely remote and continuing to operate this way. So we're having little difficulties with my video itself, but I understand you can see my slides. So my plan is to give you an introduction to myself and then talk about some updates at the University of North Dakota and specifically in the Odegaard School of Aerospace Sciences. So I'm Bob Kraus. I started here January 15th as the new Dean of the John D. Odegaard School of Aerospace Sciences, coming from Kent State University just prior to this. And then prior to that, I was in the Air Force for 28 years. So I'm going to run through some of my background and then talk about the college itself and some of the great things we have going on here. So 28 years active duty in the Air Force, went to the Air Force Academy, went through pilot training, ended up flying the C-141 for a couple of years, got to fly all over the world and do lots of great things. And so started out early with a career in aerospace and flying. My undergraduate degree was in aeronautical engineering. And then I got a master's degree and a PhD along the way. Partway through my career, I ended up going to the Air Force Test Pilot School. Got to fly several different aircraft, including the F-16 and the T-38. I got about 30 hours in the 16, even though I was what we call a heavy guy. Following test pilot school, each of us gets tracked into a different aircraft, and the aircraft I got chosen for was the C-130J, a brand new version of the airplane that's been flying since 1954, and it really was an entirely new airplane. And so I got into it right when things were kicking off. And so this middle picture on the slide, this is a picture of one of the U.S. aircraft, an Australian aircraft, and the British aircraft. And so all 3 test pilots were involved in doing some of the final design acceptance criteria for Lockheed because they were only building one version of the airplane with some minor differences between them. One of the first mission sets that we had to qualify the airplane for was hurricane hunting. And so we went through a whole risk analysis and test planning process to get the airplane into a hurricane. And so the picture on the right is of our radar screen going into a Category 5 hurricane the first time we took it into a storm. And so this is from the eye looking out of Hurricane Lenny, and at 10,000 feet pressure altitude, which actually turned out to be about between 7,000 and 8,000 feet radar altitude off the surface just because of the low pressure that was there. A lot of great things. It was a great couple of years flying the aircraft, and the Air Force is continuing to transition all of the older C-130s into the new version of the aircraft. From there, I went to the Air Force Academy to be a faculty member, taught aeronautical engineering and specifically a flight test course. And so it was a senior engineering course, teaching cadets how to be flight test engineers. Did that for a couple of years, and then moved back to what I'll call the regular Air Force, and then went off to graduate school and came back to the academy, did another tour at the academy, and ended up at the Air Force Research Laboratory in 2014. And so specifically, I was in the Air Force Office of Scientific Research, whose job is to give out $500 million a year to various granting universities and research labs to do the basic science research for the Air Force. And so I oversaw a team of 36 people who basically managed that money and chose the grants that went with it. From there, I moved over to Paris, France, and worked for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization in the Science and Technology Office. And so if you think you've worked with an organization that had a lot of acronyms, this was eye-opening for me, the number of new acronyms that we had. And so we had the opportunity to work with all 28, now 29 nations in NATO and 3 enhanced opportunity partners, Australia, Finland, and Sweden. A lot of great things going on there. Getting these nations to work together in defense-related research. And it was from that assignment that I retired from the Air Force and then moved to Kent State University in Northeast Ohio. I was the Associate Dean for Flight and Operations there, overseeing a flying program and also teaching some aerospace engineering courses. And so that's my background. That's what brought me to North Dakota. and to the University of North Dakota. And now I'm going to talk specifically about some of the things that are going on here. So President Armacost came in last spring. He's been in place for almost a year. A lot of great things going on. A lot of people like his leadership, and I personally like it also. They've hired a new chief of staff in the front office to kind of help manage the administrative things that come up. The more recent announcement is we've selected a new provost who will be joining us this summer. He's coming from the University of Houston downtown, Dr. Eric Link. And so we're excited about his arrival to University of North Dakota. Spring graduation is still virtual, so we're still in this mixed classroom. Some classes are in person, some students are home, some students are watching online, and then some courses are completely online. And so that's what we call this hybrid high flex, where you have some students in person in the classroom and other students are at home. We're going to continue that through the summer session, but we have announced that the plans for the fall will be 100% capacity back in the classroom and building on the lessons learned from this semester. And so we've also gotten good news here in Grand Forks that faculty and staff are in the COVID response category 1C, and the medical system here is starting to provide vaccines to that group as of yesterday. So by summer and actually by fall, the plan is to have all faculty and staff who want to get the vaccine to be vaccinated, and we'll be back to mostly a normal type of situation, but we're cautiously optimistic about that. So now switching over to the college. So the college has been around for about 52 years since the flight program started off with John Odegaard and through his leadership for the many years. The university itself last week celebrated Founders Day. So that for those who aren't familiar with the history, the University of North Dakota cornerstone was laid in October of 1883. And that's 5 years before North Dakota became a state. So it is marked in the annals of history of the University of North Dakota. So I am only the fourth dean of this college in the past 52 years. So John Odegaard passed it off to Bruce Smith, and then Bruce Smith to Paul Linseth, and then Paul Linseth stepped down in December, right before my arrival, and he will be remaining on our faculty as a full professor. Some great history is of the college itself, and University of North Dakota is in the two books written about John Odegaard and then by Bruce Smith about why things have been so successful here at the University of North Dakota. So the Odegaard School itself, for those who aren't familiar, we want to be the leading research institution and aerospace education in the world. The mission, working together, will be leaders in creating, preserving, and delivering the highest quality education, research, and services in aerospace and related sciences for the university, our state, and the worldwide aerospace community, building on our core values of safety, integrity, entrepreneurship, professionalism, and resilience. And so there are 4 departments within the college. The one that's the most famous and we're mostly known for is the aviation department. We do offer a bachelor's degree, master's degree, and a PhD, and a number of minors, one of which is a UAS minor. So a Bachelor of Science in Aviation, there are several concentrations under that, one of which is a UAS 4-year degree. The other departments we have is our Atmospheric Sciences department, started in the 1980s and continuing to do great research here, has all 3 degrees, bachelor's, master's, and PhD, and then a minor also. Our Space Studies program also dates back to the 1980s and then continues to grow. We have a great astronomy program as well as Mars habitat and space suit design. So we're considered experts in those categories. And then our 4th department is the Earth System Science and Policy, offering a master's, the new degree, Master's of Environmental Management, and then a PhD. And then we do offer a minor in sustainability. And so it's really the Earth System Science is not just Earth science. So it's not geology and geography, but it's looking at the Earth as a whole system and applying a lot of systems engineering principles and big data to the Earth as a system. So within the aviation department, we offer a number of specializations: air traffic management, otherwise known as air traffic control. We are in the process of potential. We're probably going to upgrade all of our simulators this summer. So we're looking at bids on that now to do both the en route as well as our 2 tower simulators that we have. Commercial aviation is the one that prepares our students for full-time professional careers in the aviation industry. We work with our College of Business to deliver an airport management degree and an aviation management degree. And then the newer one newer for us. Since 2009, we have offered a degree in unmanned aircraft systems operations. We were the first program in the nation to offer this degree concentration. And more recently, it was accredited by ABI, the accreditation organization for aviation. And even more recently, the FAA has designated us as a collegiate training initiative school in UAS. And so that was a new designation that came out from the FAA just in the last 2 years. Our ATC program had been designated as a CTI program. And so there's been some changes in the rules and the hiring practices within the air traffic control community. And so our graduates, as graduates of a CTI program, are starting to see movement again in the hiring. In terms of how busy we've been, so even with our COVID year, this is the projection of how many flight hours we're going to have. So we have a combination of our undergraduate flight training program. And so we're looking at 83,000 flight hours of our undergraduates. And then the orange number that's up here is our UND Aerospace Foundation that has a number of contract training programs with some foreign airlines and foreign companies to train their pilots. And so the combined two of those together, we're actually doing pretty good here in FY21. In fact, this last week has been fantastic with the weather that we've had. So we're really enjoying this, this first spring, I'll call it, before some of the state gets snow this afternoon or tonight. Air traffic management, here's a picture of our simulator. So we have our en route simulator, and then we have our tower simulator. And I said we are in the process of upgrading those. Atmospheric Sciences program got a little notoriety recently when the CBS station down in Fargo is doing some upgrades on their radar. And so they have been using our radar to show what's going on in the atmosphere. The other thing that's very popular, and I think it's our actually most visited YouTube site, is our SkyCam that you can log on to. It's live all the time, and it's a great thing to check on that. In terms of fleet size, we have about 100 aircraft here at Grand Forks, and then we have some other aircraft down at our Phoenix location at the UND Aerospace Foundation location down there. This picture is a little bit old, so you can still see a bunch of 172s up at the top here. We have, for the most part, transitioned completely over to the Piper Archer, and we no longer have the jet here. We do have 3 King Airs that kind of alternate between up here in Grand Forks and down in Phoenix. New arrival to our program at the end of this month, we will be getting a 5th Robinson R-44 helicopter. And so we're very excited about that. We have a number of programs. We have basically pilots going through, going all the way to flight instructor and instrument instructor in the helicopter. And then we have a program set up for Army ROTC students to get their initial helicopter training through us, and then they head off down to Fort Rucker. And so we're very excited about expanding that program. UAS program, I mentioned it briefly. It's one of the only in the country that has a large UAS category. And so we currently have several Scan Eagle UAS, and it's integrated into the Northern Plains UAS test site and all of the other drone infrastructure that the state has helped so much putting together. College-wise, university-wise, we are hosting the Collegiate Drone Racing National Championship again. It's going to be April 17th and 18th. And so because we've been successful in hosting some athletic competitions, we decided that using those same rules that some of the sports teams use, that we'll be able to actually host this national championship and keep everybody healthy. So we're very excited about that. We did recently hold a UND Aerospace Safety Week. So we do have an FAA compliant safety management system. And normally it would be a safety day where we have a set of speakers and presentations all day long and kind of do a safety stand down. But due to COVID, we put together a bunch of videos that talked about the topics that are listed on the screen here. And we are in the process of launching an aviation safety action program at ASAP. And so that's coming. In terms of the number of students that we have, our total number of undergraduate students is 2,176. There was some concern last spring if we were going to see a drop in enrollment for the fall with the airlines stopping their hiring and anticipation of what the airline industry was going to be doing. And it turns out we didn't see that at all. So we've actually seen an increase, a continuing increase in the number of students that we have. Additionally, when we're looking at the number of applications and admittances and acceptances for this coming fall of 21, we're continuing to see an increase, primarily in the commercial aviation program. The programs we want to continue growing is we're looking at the UAS program. and just talking to some of the companies that we've been working with, that even with the number of graduates that we're putting out, they're of such high quality that we could easily do double or triple this number, and every one of them would still get jobs. And so that's a great thing. And then we're continuing to look for opportunities to grow our master's and PhD programs. In terms of diversity, I think we're actually a little bit ahead of the aviation industry in terms of female and diverse, but we're always looking for opportunities to grow those programs and get more people into what we're doing. Unprecedented growth in the aviation program. Since 2015, we've seen about a 70% growth in the number of commercial aviation students that we have. And so we are not at capacity yet, but we are very close. One of the opportunities that has come up because of COVID is that our flight instructors are not leaving as fast. And so we now have a complete complement of CFIs. We're at about just under 250 flight instructors. And so we're looking to keep that as long as we can. And we'll see as the airline hiring picks up how long some of these folks will stay around. COVID impact, we did lose our international contracts this past year, but the good news is some of those contracts are coming back. So in April and then this summer, we're going to see two groups of foreign students coming back in to continue their flight training, continue or start their flight training. And then the other impact we saw was we did see a decrease in total enrollment of student credit hours for this year, because last summer we did not offer many summer courses because we were catching up from the spring. This summer we will be offering the full complement of courses, and we are, for the most part, almost caught up with the shutdown that we had last year. Number of outreach initiatives going on. New program offerings, I mentioned the Master's of Environmental Management. It is an online degree. And then the other one that we will be enrolling as soon as we get the final approval for is a Bachelor's of Science in Aviation Safety and Operations. So this is a bachelor's degree in aviation safety. It will be 100% online. And so we're very excited about this degree. And as soon as it is finally approved through the last wickets, then we'll be doing an advertising campaign to get word out that we have this program. Number of marketing initiatives. I listed a couple of social media opportunities here. And then the more recent one is we did start a TikTok channel, because most of our students are not on Facebook with their grandparents. And so they're on these other social media sites. And so we're reaching out to all of those to basically get the word out about our school and about our programs and how great of a program it is here. We also have set up a number of ambassadors that are basically our tour guides and help answer phones and help with students that are prospective students as they're coming in. In our partnership with Piper has given us some money to assist with this program. And so we've identified several students as Piper ambassadors that basically they get paid to advertise our college and the Piper program. We are doing a significant number of virtual visits, and we are doing some in-person visits. So we're doing about once a month, we're doing a Saturday of prospective students coming in and giving a whole presentation and tours to them. And then campus facilities I'll talk about a little bit later. Some of the more recent news of what's been going on here at UND and specifically within our college over the past year and a half, we've had a significant number of high-level visits. So we had General Dickinson from the U.S. Space Command come about a year ago. We had General Raymond, who is the command chief of space operations, so the chief of staff of this U.S. Space Force. Jim Bridenstine from NASA came fall of 2019. And then more recently, Derek Tournier, who's the director of the Space Development Agency, visited in the fall. And the big recent announcement coming from the Space Development Agency is that they will be opening a field office at Grand Forks Air Force Base. So we're very excited about working with the Space Development Agency and the Space Force and seeing what we UND and North Dakota can do to in the fields of national security and defense. We have a number of outreach programs. Two of our faculty members just published this Aviation High School ASA guide, and it comes with it. It has a facilitator guide as well as a student guide. And so we're, great job by those folks. And then we're also in the process of putting some proposals together for this aviation workforce development grants to reach out to high schools and partner between us and the high schools to get more students interested in aerospace professions and the aviation workforce as a whole. We normally host a UND Aerospace Community Day. We did one a year ago. So in February, we were unable to do it again this year, but we will be starting back up again next spring or a year from now. And so we're very excited about that and just advertising and getting children and families interested in the programs that we have. Good news on one front is we will be hosting an Air Force Junior ROTC Flight Academy this summer. So we've agreed to accept 12 cadets here. And then our program in Phoenix is currently not able to host students this summer because of some housing issues, but that we plan on hosting some down there also. And so this basically brings in high school students that are 16 or 17 years old, and we get them a private pilot license in 9 weeks. It is fully supported by the Air Force and Junior ROTC. And we're hoping that these students then become career leaders, whether they join the Air Force or not. We're very excited about this program. And these students are fantastic that are chosen for this program. So their selection process is really good. Air Race Classic canceled again for this year. We were scheduled to host the start of it this past year, but we did get back into the mix. And so after Lakeland, Florida will host the start next summer, we will then be the host for the start in 2023. There will be an Air Race Classic Derby competition that goes on this summer, which is a smaller version and separate. And so we're looking into participating into that. NIFA flying team. So the regional and the national events, the getting together in person is still up in the air and not really happening. But this week, they are doing virtual events, doing written tests. We are the current ranking national champions in NIFA flying team. And so we're hoping to keep that trophy and add another flag to our mix. UND aerobatic team is doing very well, and they've actually been out and competing. So they did go to Colorado in the fall and were able to do an aerobatic competition there. And they've also been doing very well nationally in terms of ranking. In terms of construction, we have 2 projects that are in different phases of work. So we're working with the state right now to get funding to complete the ramp renovations here at North Dakota. So previous funding allowed us to finish the east side of Apron B and Apron C. And so that pavement's all been fixed. And then Apron B is the one that we're hoping to get out of this round of legislation that's going through. Longer term plans, we're in a fundraising campaign and trying to build a new flight operations building to replace some of the aging infrastructure that we have at the airport. And so hopefully a year from now, when we come back to this conference, that we'll have made progress and either started broken ground or at least made significant movement towards getting this going. Some upcoming events, we will be doing an in-person aviation scholarship ceremony. We give out almost 200 different aviation scholarships to our students. And so it's a great thing for them as well as the sponsors who pay for those scholarships. We will be going to EAA AirVenture this summer at Oshkosh. We're very excited about returning to that and getting the word out about our programs. This fall, October 22nd is UND's homecoming, and we will be doing an Aerospace Hall of Fame induction. We were unable to do an induction this past fall to induct these 4 gentlemen, and then we currently have an open nomination process to get folks for the class of 2021. And so we're very excited about bringing people back and doing this. So I want to show a quick video.
Growing up in a military family, I saw the world from a different perspective. Most importantly, I learned results are what matter most. At the University of North Dakota, we lead by doing. Here, I developed the skills to innovate our future and make an impact on our rapidly changing world. Now, I'll be the eye in the sky, supporting our troops on the ground. I'm making my impact. How will you make yours?
So with that, I'd like to conclude my presentation. Thank you for everyone. Enjoy the rest of the day.